Hi, I'm Todd Jeremiah, and welcome to the Why the Nativity Experience. I'm honored to join my grandfather in this special season that has always meant so much to our family as we look into the Christmas story to discover insights from those who were there. As a relatively new husband and father myself, I'm excited to talk about Joseph, the earthly father of the Christ child. I love watching my son grow up. As I remember when he was a baby, those first few weeks and months with a newborn can be trying. The diaper changes seem endless, the hours of sleep are few, and the days are a blur. There's so much to love, but also so much to endure. I can only imagine what a shock it must have been to Joseph's system to be given the responsibility of watching over his new wife Mary and over God's very own son. From the start of their Christmas journey, Joseph and Mary found more than one obstacle in their God-ordained path. Are there any obstacles in your path this Christmas season? Let's face it, there's rarely a season when we don't. And Christmas can be even worse when you're struggling to find joy in a season that we often define as a time of joy. So how do we persevere and why? Let's find answers this Christmas in the experience of Joseph. Joseph was betrothed to Mary when she became pregnant with Jesus by the power of the Holy Spirit. They had to rewrite their life plans. Mary immediately and Joseph later embraced this calling. But that didn't make the obstacles go away. They faced three challenges we also often face at Christmas. First, the challenge of confusion. When Joseph discovered Mary's pregnancy, his head must have been spinning. Nothing like this had ever happened before to anyone. Confusion happens to us all, just not at this level. Imagine the conversations Mary and Joseph must have had. They no doubt had far more questions than answers, and this sometimes happens to us as well. Second, the challenge of isolation. Mary and Joseph were young, so their parents were likely still alive. It would be hard enough for a young couple to confess conceiving a child naturally, but what about supernaturally? Who would believe that? They found themselves in possession of a promise and provision from God that nobody would believe in, except for Mary's relative Elizabeth. Mary and Joseph most likely felt isolated and alone. Unfortunately, many also feel the same way at Christmas. And last, the challenge of fear. What Gabriel told Mary about the forthcoming birth of Jesus was profound enough. But 8 days after Jesus' birth, when a saint named Simeon spoke to them about Jesus, they were confused and fearful. He told them, "This child is destined to cause many in Israel to fall and many others to rise. He's been sent as a sign from God, but many will oppose him. As a result, the deepest thoughts of many hearts will be revealed, and a sword will pierce your very soul." What? What did this mean? What was going to happen to them, to Jesus, and to any other children they would have? Fear is a function of a future without answers, something we all experience at times. So then, up against confusion, isolation, and fear, why did Mary and Joseph persevere? What motivated them to pick up their pen and begin immediately writing the subsequent chapters of their life together, even though they were without the details? Their motivation can be ours if we stay focused on the story God is writing in our lives. If we could talk to Mary and Joseph today, I believe they would tell us they faced these challenges with spiritual solutions that motivated them to persevere in God's calling. Here are 4 Christmas solutions to the challenges we face during the Christmas season. The first solution is this: retreat into God's protection. I can't imagine Mary and Joseph debating or arguing with people, trying to convince them of what God was doing in their lives. Instead, they probably withdrew into a protected spiritual place, nurturing the seed God had planted in Mary's womb. Just as Moses withdrew to Midian for 40 years and John the Baptist withdrew to the desert, sometimes it's better to stay alone with God temporarily until His purposes bear fruit that others can see. Secondly, remember God's promises. Let's look at Gabriel's announcement to Mary about her conception. The word will occurs 10 times. God's will, Jesus' will, the Spirit will, you will, and more. This is the language of promises. If Mary and Joseph knew nothing else, they knew God's promises, the lock and key that secure the future for the Christian. The next Christmas solution is this: recruit a prayer partner. For Joseph and Mary, God provided a joyful prayer partner in Elizabeth, who was pregnant with John the Baptist. Elizabeth understood what was happening to Mary. Sometimes all it takes is one godly friend to walk with us down a dimly lit path. The final Christmas solution to drive away our Christmas challenges is this: realign your priorities. Mary and Joseph didn't know everything, but they knew their priority for the next 9 months. As someone has said, we don't need to know everything. We need to know the next right thing. Even if that next thing is just to pray, that's something. We are never without the guidance we need as long as we stay focused on God's calling in our lives. That's how Joseph and Mary persevered through the first Christmas. They persevered one steady step after another, from Nazareth to Bethlehem to Egypt, and finally back to Nazareth, and then for 30 years until Jesus began his public ministry. Even then, all their questions weren't answered, and it's possible some of ours won't be either. As you navigate this Christmas season, when challenges, stress, and worry emerge, keep in mind how Mary and Joseph turned their challenges into spiritual solutions. I know we can do the same. Remember, we don't need answers to persevere. We need only the promises and provisions God gives us. Merry Christmas.